Nous sommes Squawking Dead, un podcast pauvre son de l'univers du Walking Dead. I'm your host, David Cameo, and I'm joined by Cosmom09 Rachel Burt.
Hey.
Not Sharon D, aka Blazy Gardner, because she's working today, unfortunately.
She's here in our hearts.
She's here in our farts. And Bridget, ko-fi.com/punkybrewster. That's punkybruyseter, as well as Survivor Steer member Takira, who you can reach at ko-fi.com/Connie Dixon for life. That's Connie Dixon, the number 4LYFE, as well as former Survivor Steer member Jasmine in the chat. Hi, Jasmine.
Woo woo.
I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you're all here. It's been a while since we've recorded together. Wow, it's been a couple months. Lots happened. I went on vacation. Sharon D went on vacation. Rachel will never get a vacation ever again. And Bridget, she's been cranking out content.
I have.
I could tell you what she's been up to, but I think Bridget should tell you about the series that she has talking about old zombie movies, doing a retrospective, as well as recent update to her Clementine series. And also, she and Takira had done a analysis on the first 10 minutes of The Walking Dead Daryl Dixon that dropped, I think it was a month and a half ago, I think it was.
Yeah, it's been a while. We did a live breakdown of the first 10 minutes of Daryl Dixon, as well as the trailer. It went on surprisingly long. This is like an hour and a half long.
Surprise.
It's done fairly well on YouTube, so I'm pretty happy with that. Thanks to Takira posting it legitimately everywhere. So if you are on Facebook anywhere, you probably received a notification about it. Even if you don't listen to us or follow us, like you probably got a notification about it. I am currently doing a retrospective series with Aiden called Zombification Education 101. We started with the Romero films, as one does. So we have released Night of the Living Dead and Dawn of the Dead. And soon I will be releasing Day of the Dead. We're through Land of the Dead already. So we're recording Diary of the Dead next week, which I'm not looking forward to, but it's fine. We have a plan for where we're going to go, and it'll be back to the Jack Russo movies. So it'll be the Return of the Living Dead movies.
Right.
Which some of my favorites, but because they
you mentioned
are
also
ridiculous.
that you mentioned that the Russo split with Romero.
They went their separate ways.
Right.
Russo wanted dark comedy, and Romero wanted something a little more serious, which is funny because they're both campy in their own way. But
yeah, one is like slapstick almost.
Yes.
It was Russo, yeah.
But Russo ends up getting like really ridiculous, which is what I'm excited about. And then my Climb to Clementine series is, I've labeled it the YouTube series that no one asked for, just like the comic book. And I will be releasing, those are not so much periodic, but until October 4th, I will be releasing at different intervals videos breaking down the Skybound X prequel called Clementine Lives, and then also Clementine Book 1. So the prequel video is already out. I'll go back and do Clementine Book 1. And then I have ordered Book 2 for pre-order. So when that comes in, I will also do a non-spoiler review first, and then I will go through and do a more in-depth breakdown, section by section, probably.
God help you.
I know.
Essentially.
My brain.
Yeah, I saw I managed to catch the last one last night as I was pushing out the blog for both. I love segues. Segues are awesome, right? For both the panels that we did at the camp on U.S. Memorial Day weekend last May, basically, at the end of the month, featuring the funny females of fear, which is what I called it, Colby Minifee and Mo Collins, moderated by Cosmom09 Rachel Burt and Sharon D, aka Blazy Gardner, as well as the Reapers panel with Robert Terrell Hayes. I know, I love saying his middle name. It's just so fun. Robert Hayes and Ethan McDowell, who played Paul Wells and Ira Washington, respectively, on The Reapers and The Walking Dead. And it was fun. And we put them all in a handy blog, something that we really have to try doing when it comes to conventions, because a lot of things happen and we like to kind of document them all in one place. I also included a little forward of thoughts that I had prior to the camp, my mind that had changed during and after the camp, and some cool things that happened along the way, like when we showed everybody the poster that Eliza commissioned from Kirk Manley of us, the comic book style poster. So I know we included it to death. Yeah.
It was weird. Yeah. It was so weird. People asked for our autograph. I don't know what's happening.
But the bottom line is that, yeah, that happened. I was thinking about not even going. After making all the friends that we made during the camp and experiencing all the things that we experienced, and obviously getting the panels and having and being able to do them, it kind of affirmed that this is where we should be. And no matter what anybody says, like it just seems to be the right thing until something, obviously until something similar comes along, but who knows? And the camp just announced their October of 2024 family vacation. So that's going to be interesting.
So funny because Sharon's been telling Rachel and I that she wants us to go to Florida. So this is like, it was like kismet that all of a sudden now a Florida trip is on the horizon. They also announced that they booked the entire hotel for May. For May, which has never happened before. So they said that they wanted to do more stuff at the pool, and that the whole hotel was ours this time. So the contract must have increased. Previously, this coincides with a prom in the area or graduation. So there's always a high school graduation in the area. So there's usually rooms that are booked for that specifically. This last time there was a family reunion there. I don't know that they announced it, but it was Casey mentioned it in a post in the comments attendees? When they were talking about the pool, and they were asking for feedback on what to do at the pool and stuff. They had mentioned that the whole hotel was ours this time. So they wanted to do more pool front stuff, which yes, please.
Sure. Let's do a panel out there. Why not?
Want to be at
this
the pool.
Is going to be fantastic.
I was excited. I mean, it means it's expanding, that's impressive.
Which is something that we talked about, why don't make this a year-round thing? I don't know. It's something we talked about behind the scenes.
Well, just think about it. We came because of you guys, and now Marcus is coming because of me.
Carillo.
And then Marcus will probably tell someone that, that's how it goes.
Well, I should talk. Well, we should mention that you just started a YouTube channel called The Ones Who Talk.
Yes. So I want to kind of go back and do some recaps and reviews of the original show and Fear, only because I've always wanted to and just never had the courage.
Only because we haven't done it? No, I'm kidding. Yeah, I guess. No, I'm kidding.
I don't know. I haven't had the courage to do it, and me and Marcus have been talking about doing something like this for a while. We were supposed to release some more content, but Marcus had a death in the family, so we're kind of on pause right now. We actually want to join forces sometimes with the Squawking Dead for game and trivia nights and stuff, if that's something that you're interested in.
Obviously.
And we wanted to review Daryl Dixon. I'm just not sure where we are. I don't know if I might do a couple by myself. I have no idea right now.
Okay. Well, hopefully this episode helps you, because we're here to talk about the series premiere of The Walking Dead Daryl Dixon. See, segues. I love segues. Starring... Who is the lead for this show?
Some guy. I don't know.
Some guy named Norman Reedus.
He was in an episode of Charmed once, I think. True story, Dave.
True story.
A young Norman Reedus. He was also in Blade 2 or something. Oh, God, it's Doll Rachel. First impressions of this series. What are you thinking?
I went into it similar, but not quite as apprehensive as Dead City, just because I actually, really love Daryl and I think he's a good character. My apprehensions were we knew ahead of time he's going to be in France. So my first thought is, how the hell did he get there? We better get some answers pretty quick, fast, and in a hurry, which they touched on it. I don't feel like we got clear answers, but they touched on it at least, which I'm all right, I see you.
Wait, I should mention something before you continue. I had dropped the reel for this and also on social media, but I had the privilege, because of my friend Laura, to watch the first 2 episodes in an advanced screening in Industry City in Brooklyn, very close to where I live. And to answer your question, it seems to me that, at least from my watch of the second episode, that you will get a little bit more answers. You get some of the answers, obviously, at the end of this episode. Mm-hmm. And you'll get a little bit more in the second episode, not that much more. So it might be that we're going to get things drip by drip throughout the 6 episodes that we're going to get.
That's why I was glad that they at least touched on it, because I thought, okay, you know what? Even if it's just a little bit right now, I am confident that we're going to get more information as the season goes on. I think they, like you just said, I think they're going to sort of drip the answers into the whole series for us, which I'm fine with. I mean, maybe it's a really cool story. And he's like, oh, I made a bunch of bad decisions and blah, blah, blah. So I'm all right, we better see what those bad decisions are, please.
Right.
So
Right.
I'm here for it. I think the whole concept that they gave us initially with little
Laurent.
empathic
Laurent?
dude. Yeah, whatever.
Did you say telepathic, dude?
No, I said
Telepathic.
empathic.
Oh, empathic. Okay.
I don't know. I don't know about this kid.
Well,
I just
okay.
don't know.
Well, we'll get into that a little bit more as we talk, but overall,
I do like that it's giving Daryl a purpose, and I think that's what he needs, so he doesn't get lost.
which the title of this episode is called L'âme perdue, which is
Lost
like the
love.
lost soul.
Lost love. Lost love.
Lost soul.
Okay. Who took French?
I did.
So did I.
Oh shit.
So
No,
did
no,
I. I failed it.
You're thinking Lem, Laime, which is that's love. That's lost love. L'âme perdue is L'âme is soul. So you're not his lost love. Doll
No,
Rachel's
hell no.
Doll Rachel's so sad. Anyway,
Hell no. I am not his lost love.
not real Rachel. Real Rachel's like, nah, no B. Doll Rachel's like
Nah.
all for it.
Doll Rachel might be crushed.
Right,
Yeah,
she's
she
single,
might be crushed,
right,
but
and ready to mingle.
She's
real Rachel's fine.
Now she looks kind of angry. Anyway,
brought up her status, Dave. She doesn't
Now-
appreciate it.
now I should bring up the fact that again, you, Takira, and you, Bridget, had done the recap of the first 10 minutes of the episode,
Yes.
which again you could find on Punky Brewster's YouTube channel. You already had like a good head start to how you might feel about this series. Well, starting with Takira, what did you feel having seen the rest of the episode?
Not that I would have minded if it was, but I actually thought the first episode was going to be a bit slower. A lot of stuff happened in this first episode. I wanted to touch on what Rachel was saying about like how they're going to drip the information throughout the episodes. I mean, it's Daryl. So if we have to know by him answering questions,
We're never
that's
gonna get answers.
just how it's going to go.
You'll get one word at a time.
Yep.
You know, I had said that when we'd first heard about that series, when we thought it was going to be the Daryl and Carol spinoff. Actually, when we heard the news that Carol was not going to be appearing in this series thus far, speculation. But I had said, what's this series going to look like if we have to deal with Daryl as a protagonist? Because he doesn't talk much. Actually, when I watched the first 2 episodes, I realized that I know I'm veering into my own first impressions, but the series, it takes a moment to work on film craft over dialogue, let's say. And I'm sure there's tons of dialogue. There's enough dialogue for days, but it's nice to see that they're doing more visual storytelling in a sense. Just having seen the second episode, there's a bit more of that, and I like it. And something that somebody had said when we'd released that special separately of feelings of Carol leaving the series, had said, well, it's maybe a good springboard to have Daryl react to other people talking or other things happening and have him emote via visual cues rather than just talking.
I was saying earlier, like my notes is full of laughing, crying emojis. Either people's reaction to him or his reaction to other people, I was just rolling. Like him saying creepy kid and the zombie priest or something like that just like killed me. Moments like that I loved. And then like the one that was like, oh, I speak English. What's cracking, noob? I don't know. I just love those, like, because I feel like because of how serious Daryl is and how much he doesn't communicate through words, we kind of needed a little bit of that laughter between moments in the episodes, if that makes sense.
Yeah, he's saying WTF and we're saying WTF, noob. And so this is another thing I said, like he's us in a sense. We put on him a lot because he doesn't say much.
Mm-hmm.
Clearly, like fish out of water story, right?
Yuck.
Yep. Can I just address something? Because like as I was watching this, it was replaying in my head over and over again. There's been a lot of speculation online about this first episode. People got to see it early. We're all saying the same thing. I'm going to say it right now. It's not my opinion. Daryl Dixon is going to be exactly like The Last of Us. We're just getting The Last of Us again. Okay.
There's a reason for that.
Okay.
It's in the second episode.
Here's my opinion on that. I don't know. I could be wrong. I could eat crow this next episode, but they didn't say that this kid is the cure. They said he is the cure for a dark world. It doesn't mean that he's the cure. It just means that they view that he will be able to lift people. This is all about hope. very clearly this is all about hope.
Right.
So that really kind of irked me. Plus, that's a trope, you guys. This is a dystopian trope. Look at older stuff.
Done
Look
a
at
million times.
Children of Men. Same
Look at Fear
thing.
the Walking Dead season 2, I think
You're
it was.
trying to I'm trying to look for stuff that came before The Last of Us because I just want to dispel that. I think it's just like a really stupid thing to say. They just released it on HBO recently, so it's in everybody's like forethoughts. They're like, oh, it's just exactly the same. Okay, well, like, yeah, I could say that about every zombie thing ever, because it is all retreading ground that's already been tread. But if you add in dystopian media in any way, you're retreading everything a million times over. The Road by Cormac McCarthy is an excellent example of someone traveling with a child and trying to get them to safety. That is a trope in dystopian media. I don't know. That was really bothersome to me. And I felt like everybody was saying it, including people who I genuinely like. So I was like, I don't love that you're saying this right now. Could you give it a second?
There's a Resident Evil game where he's he's protecting a child throughout the game.
It's
like,
just like a thing.
it's everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, you don't even have to go further than The Walking Dead. I mean, Eugene Porter, the original idea was, okay, go get to Washington, deliver the cure or work on the cure. I think that's when he drops T. Brooks Ellis too from the Human Genome Project. I'm Eugene Herman Porter. Then you have season 2 of Fear the Walking Dead, the doctor who was bit, but it was by a person rather than the undead. But he was monopolizing on that experience to kind of, I'm the doctor guy. I'm the savior.
It's been done even before The Last of Us.
Yeah.
The Last of Us came out in 2014. Like, this has been done like way before that. You know, Children of Men was like essentially the same thing. Clive Owen is trying to transport it's a pregnant woman because nobody can get pregnant anymore.
Right.
And this, like, that came out in like what, 04, 05? This is like, because that was like around the time I was in high school. So Jasmine just said it's Clementine also.
Right.
Yeah.
The answer is always Clementine.
It's the same. That was really
but not these new
bothersome
books.
to me.
Not these new books.
Not these new books. We're not talking about that right now.
We're not talking about that.
I talk about that on my channel, unfortunately. I think it has the potential to be really cool. And you guys know, I've stated this before, some of my favorite lines in the original Walking Dead, some of my favorite stuff in Fear the Walking Dead, it always has to do with the religious aspect. I just think it's really interesting when they tie it into something so dystopian, because if you're religious really in any type of way, but like specifically Christianity, like this happening wouldn't be believable to you because this is not what we've been told will happen. The world ending in this way, the dead rising, like that's not what we've ever been taught. So it would be like hard to accept it. So I just think it's really interesting when people stand steadfast in their faith in these situations. I think that's a really cool thing to see. I think it's also nice to see hope in a world that seems hopeless. Jasmine just said religion is massive in France, which makes sense.
And it's also like not massive too, because you have like the hugest atheist population as well. More of a humanist population. Anyway,
there's like stark contrast.
Yeah. Well, France has always been, not to kind of prejudice entire people, but yeah, it's always about extremes in France. Talking about hope, though, one of the things I wanted to point out in both the title sequence is the appearance of the word espoir in the stained glass portion of the title sequence, which means hope, literally. And of course, Isabel's group of nuns is called the Union of Hope, which is l'Union d'Espoir. I mean, that's their whole thing. But to your point, they go so far to clamor onto their faith by also borrowing other faiths to kind of guide them.
Well, the way that I took that when she said the Union of Hope thing was, all right, so I'm not Catholic. I've not been raised Catholic. Now, I did go to a Catholic college, so I know like a little bit. The order of the college that I went to, like those sisters were part of the Franciscan order. So there's like specific orders. So that's kind of what I thought it was, like that they had bought into this order and that there were like, that's what this network of people is that they're all a part of this Union of Hope that they've created, like across France.
Can you drill down into that a bit more? So you're saying this specific order, the Franciscan order, or
no,
just a different kind of order?
I'm just saying like people, like it would be natural for them to buy into an order because like that's where they would have come from. They would have been aligned with an order at some point, I'm sure.
I see.
That order would be gone because the Catholic Church would have fallen apart after the fall. You don't have any communication potentially with the Pope, but two, like with any of the other churches in your order. So if you were trying to reestablish this concept of like fighting for something bigger than yourselves and hope and not losing hope in humanity and all of this other kind of stuff, then you're going to look for other people to like buy into this idea with you. And I felt like that's what it was. Like, well, we'll make our own new order and it's the Union of Hope. And anybody who wants to be a part of it can, because it's all about hope in humanity and moving forward. It's not about a specific deity.
They would use the same playbook as the orders.
Yes.
In order to establish like a new order.
So they're going to take Laurent up to, is it Paris?
No,
is that where the end was?
Wait,
I didn't pay attention.
So the port up north is Le Havre, and
not there though. That's not where they're not taking Laurent there. They're taking Laurent to, is it Paris? Is the end of their route?
I think they're going to the same place that was in the Stinger, that port up there.
No, that's where Daryl wants to go. That's not where Laurent was supposed to go.
Yeah.
Oh.
Did anyone screenshot that map that was on the wall she was showing Daryl?
That's what I'm talking about.
He said, well, what's this map that someone has routed out? And she was like, oh, that was Père Jean's route that he wanted to take Laurent.
Yeah.
But it was a different route than getting to that port that Daryl wanted to go to.
Right.
Yeah.
It looked like it was further off to the right and like the port was off to the left.
Good. It's good that you said that, because in the title sequence, you see silhouette-ish figures of Daryl and Laurent looking at this city on a hill, basically, right? That city is called Mont Saint-Michel. By the way, first of all, beautiful. Second, beautiful title sequence, which we'll talk about in a second. But that may be where they're talking about, because when you said it's off to the right. So Mont Saint-Michel is further east of Le Havre, which, yes, it's a port, and that's where you meet in the Stinger Genet and the captain of the ship that Daryl escaped from, it seems
the
like.
world's worst captain.
Yeah, the world's worst. A captain is only as good as his crew. And Genet goes, well, actually, he's probably not French. She goes, no, the ship is only as good as its captain. That's how she talks, by the way. And so that's probably where they're headed.
Exactly
if I had to take a guess. Yeah, I'm sorry.
I was like, she's here.
It's like from Long Island. So yeah, if I had to take a guess, that's where they're headed, Mont Saint-Michel, and then further to the west is Le Havre, which I thought that we were going to the same place, but that makes sense now.
I keep saying right and left like it's not east and west. Sorry, everyone. I know how to read a map.
I do not, so I appreciate the left and right references.
Like it's
I still
further
have to hold up my hands and find the L on my hand. This is left.
Guys, there were so many Walking Dead parallels in this episode.
So let's start with the first one that I saw. Obviously, when you watch the episode a couple times, you notice that there is a "Don't Open Dead Inside" sign at the very onset. The actual sign says "Attention affamés." So that's watch out, the hungry.
The hungries.
Not as dramatic as "Don't Dead Open Inside."
When I did the research for the teaser, though, the first 10-minute, that can also translate to the ravenous. That's not the language that she used in the episode, the nun, Isabel, but it can also be translated as that because it has been for like other movies. For example, the movie The Ravenous. That's its title.
I figured that's where you're going.
Yeah.
A slight parallel to Daryl helping Dwight and Sherry, and then Daryl helping the what's cracking noob girl and her father.
Okay. How the grifters end up tricking him, and right, and
that's a good one.
Yeah,
and pouvoir was it pouvoir le vivant? Yeah, pouvoir le vivant
is her name,
right? But that group, pouvoir le vivant, you could see them as the saviors too. Power of the living or strength of the living. I have one too, and it's the dumbest little tiny thing that you could say, oh, that's not it. At the end of the scene where they're taking out Codon's group, he takes out the last walker. It's the first one that he takes out in the beginning, who ends up rising first. And he does that Rick Grimes with the old pistol, and he just like in the same kind of manner.
Oh,
and his boom.
You're
and I was
right.
like,
But his head like explodes because it's an old timey gun, and it was awesome
with round balls, apparently.
Right?
So it does a lot of damage.
So another parallel follows pretty closely there. I don't know, what's the bad guy's name?
Codon?
Oh, you're gonna take mine.
The head bad guy.
Yeah, Codon.
Tattoo face.
Okay, his brother dies.
You're gonna take mine.
Michelle,
God damn
Michelle's
it, you
brother
took
dies.
mine.
And well, I noticed it right away. I was like, this is Daryl and Merle.
Yep.
It's the same thing. It
And
was
then puts him, and then he has to put his
and
brother
then he
down.
cries and he holds him afterwards, and that had to be intentional. That mirrors Daryl and Merle perfectly.
Yeah.
I'm not ready to say that Tattoo Face is a bad guy yet. I'm just not.
I thought that too, Rachel. It ties in with that scene because it made me think of how Daryl felt about the governor and the governor's men. An outsider came in out of nowhere, killed your people. He's the enemy. That's exactly how this guy feels about Daryl.
Yeah.
He's an outsider that came into his territory, killed his brother. And it just reminded me of the fact that in these stories, you're never going to be the villain in your own story. You're always going to be the hero in your own story.
Right.
But Daryl didn't kill his brother.
It was
well, I know. She blamed it on him, so that's how that guy sees it.
She blamed a lot on him,
and he absolutely would have killed him without even thinking twice about it if he had to. So it could have been it very easily could have been him. But again, like I'm not ready to like jump right to Tattoo Face being like the bad guy just yet, because I don't know enough about him yet. When they got to the convent, he was like, "Let us in. We're going to look for this guy." And they let him in. Yes, you got that sense of dread, like they were afraid of these guys, but I mean, they didn't just come in immediately shooting. Like they came in, they searched the place, and like it wasn't until they killed the Perdue. Yeah. And even the guy, even the kid. Yeah. And even the kid was like, I don't know if so like, I don't know. I feel like it's just like a group of people like trying to keep order in their image, order how they want it, obviously.
Like the saviors.
Yeah. I mean, they didn't come in and kill a nun right away. You know what I mean? Like they were just looking for Daryl. They didn't start attacking. No one started attacking until Daryl killed the dude who killed something that was already dead.
Right. No, good point. I think it's the whole taking Laurent anyway, just taking him point blank, no reason, just because they could. That was the thing that started that shift in me. You notice that Daryl only kills the guy in the back because he's about to knock Isabella out with with the butt of his rifle. And that's when he's like, okay.
Not kill her, by the way.
But you know what? Here's the thing. A lot of people get knocked out on these shows. But you know what? You hit somebody hard enough, you might kill them. Yeah. So you don't know.
Or at least cause permanent damage. So
Right.
That can't be repaired in an apocalypse.
That's fair. But he was going to hit her with the butt, not shoot her in the head.
Right. No, and I take your point.
That point reminded me a lot of Herschel and the barn walkers. They may still be in there kind of thing. That reminded me of that. The Father Jean. Yeah. It reminded me a lot of that.
So for the longest time, I didn't really care how Daryl got over there. I just cared that he was going to have a show and I was getting more Daryl Dixon.
Yeah, that's where I'm at.
Then I did a breakdown with Bridget and I wanted to be thorough. So I researched the crap out of that first 10 minutes. And I want to know why he went through the Strait of Gibraltar and ended up on the other side of France.
Or how.
Yeah.
Did he, though?
That's the only way I could see him getting over there.
So they're in Marseille, which is in the south of France. Mm-hmm. It's true that the captain ends up landing in Le Havre, up in the north, west of Mont Saint-Michel. But Daryl gets thrown overboard, probably out at sea. So he washes up in the south of France. The ship continues on to Port Le Havre. But where did you pick up that he went through the Strait of Gibraltar, though? Where was that?
I literally just studied the map, and I can't find anything that would have gotten him to that side of France. Because of how it's connected to Spain. I didn't see like a waterway there leading on the other side. And if you go down, the only waterway that clearly gets you to the other side is the Strait of Gibraltar. It's way south, though. That's why I'm like, how the hell?
Well, it depends on when they got him. So I think a lot more of that will end up being explained as we go. There's no indication. I'm going to say it out loud. There's no indication of when that might have been in the second episode. You get a little bit more of the reason. I feel like you do also at the sneak peek to the rest of the season. He says them. I was looking for them. I was going to bring them back home. In this episode, he talks about it or finding it or I was looking for something. Wasn't he say something?
He just says something. He said, I went to look for something. There's got to be something out there worth finding. But then we also get that flashback of him telling Judith, like, I'm going to bring them home, meaning Rick and Michonne. So I don't know. It's like mixed messages. Like the writers are keeping it open so that no matter what he finds, we can be like, see, that's what he meant.
It's because it's Carol, right?
When he left the show at the end of season 11, he didn't say, like, I'm going to find Rick. He said, I'm going out there basically searching. And if I get wind of them, basically, I'm going to bring them back. I felt like he wasn't going out there specifically just for Rick and Michonne. Because remember, Maggie also had that little meeting about finding who else and what else is out there. So I think maybe it was a combination of the two things.
I think we can agree that Maggie doesn't give a shit about Rick. She's not out there looking for Rick.
Well, but we can agree that Daryl perpetually feels like he owes Maggie.
Yes.
So So did he feel like she's saying this is something she needs? I have to be the one to bring it to her.
Wow.
That's very, very poignant. Yeah.
But it is something that I'd said at the end of the series, which was it's embracing that side of himself that he explored with Aaron when he was first part of Alexandria, going out and looking for people to bring back or bring to a safe place. I think that's a larger scale operation of that. And then, of course, now he's made a ton of mistakes and he's in France. So he's made a bunch of mistakes that led him to this point. So I think that might also be part of it.
Are they mistakes, Dave? Everything happens for a reason.
It's for pour raison. Okay, cool. Fine.
No, I actually firmly believe that. So this was like really interesting to me.
They got you hooked.
They did. They were like, we'll put some vague religious stuff in there and then Bridget will just eat this up. Like, yes, please tell me more.
It's interesting that we're talking about this because I've always felt that The Walking Dead does a really good job of where most series doesn't really touch on religion in any meaningful way. The Walking Dead does this cool thing of not hitting you over the head with religious themes, but kind of sneaking them in, like vegetables in your meal. It's like, oh, we'll just sprinkle them into the meat. But it does it in such a subtle way that says, okay, here's some breadcrumbs. You look it up if you want to see how this ties into the greater episode. But in this series, like Jasmine said, it's hard to kind of not include iconography and religious themes and religious ideas. But they still do it in this episode. They still manage to kind of, sneak it in rather than hit you over the head with religious overtones or making you think or feel a certain way or say, this is how the world works.
There's two ways that the world will go if it ends. You know what I mean? There's people who are going to be reaffirmed in the thought or assured of the thought that, like, I had doubts about God and so God doesn't exist because this is proof that he doesn't exist. Or you're going to have the other people who are like, this reaffirms that my faith is just as important as it ever has been. And it's the only thing that is going to get me through. Those are like the two main routes that people are going to take when they evaluate something like faith in a situation like this.
Well, and what's great about the Walking Dead universe so far, as I've seen, is that they always keep it nebulous enough to give you a choice, or you can choose to believe one or the other.
Yeah.
And you're probably wrong or right, and right or right. Maybe.
Schrodinger's religion.
Schrodinger's religion, exactly. Well, if you think actually, this goes to the idea of Laurent being the cure, and that my gut feeling is that it's going to do the thing that it always does, which is not spooky beta shit. We're going to get an answer and we're going to be like, oh, okay, he wasn't the cure. That's my feeling. And I feel like, Bridget, you are shaking your head. You're nodding. You're like, yeah, that's probably it. Because otherwise I'd be very mad.
Well, because he's right. Well, I don't want a cure. I've said this many times. That's stupid.
The kid's got to die.
The kid has to die.
Fear the Walking Dead season 8A. The first half of season 8.
Did I really? Why'd you make me want that? Anyway.
Even when you win, you lose. Because on The Walking Dead.
Because they say stuff like, he's shown abilities, perceptions, compassion beyond any child. That doesn't mean,
right?
Oh, he's really loving to animals, and we can tell that he okay, one.
Well, we don't know
okay, yet. One, the picture he drew. Okay.
Daryl.
Daryl's reaction to that was, because, yes,
perfect.
He should stick to other things. is not great.
That was one of my laughing, crying emojis.
Look at he's beating up on a kid's drawing. Look at this bitch.
My thought of that was, when I saw that, I was like, it's literally a man in water. That could be Jesus getting baptized. Like, why did you assume it's Daryl Dixon?
Mm-hmm.
Like a kid who's surrounded by religious, like a religious icon. He's surrounded by religion. That's not Jesus in the river.
To be fair,
are you kidding?
Jesus walked on the water.
Right. Daryl goes through the water.
He was baptized in a river by John the Baptist.
First of all, I don't believe it anyway, because Daryl in water outside this bath, he's probably not taking a bath in a year. So
when I saw it, that's all I could think of was like, why would they assume that picture of Jesus is Daryl?
They didn't give us context to what he said when he was like, look at this picture that I
It was so funny.
Or he didn't say anything.
He was
probably didn't say anything. She just found it. She just found the picture one day and was like, oh my gosh, he's seeing things.
But okay, we can throw that out and that's fine. But at the beginning of this episode and somewhere in the when he's in the bath. So two things that Judith says in this episode. One, at the beginning,
she has no idea what to do in there.
Well, that's why she came in. She's like, this guy is hopeless. Anyway, so Judith goes in a voiceover right at the beginning. She says, "You deserve happiness too." Okay, which is a take from the final episode of The Walking Dead. Fine. Yeah. In the middle, she says, "You deserve a happy ending too." Or Laurent says the same thing. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So there's a little bit of spooky beta shit going on here. Mm-hmm. Now, I should remind the audience what spooky beta shit is. I think it was the 15th episode of season 10. It was. Beta goes around and he's able to somehow see people that are there that he shouldn't be able to see because the walkers are telling him, "Oh, he's right behind the thing." Mm-hmm. Like what? Wait, what? Spooky beta shit. So this is an example of spooky beta shit. Is like, okay, fine, you can throw out the drawing, even though it kind of looks like Daryl in water, which is unbelievable anyway. Jesus. But then the whole listen, I don't believe in that. So
it doesn't matter. It's still like it would be on like a fresco or something, like in that building. Like you cannot tell me that kid hasn't seen that picture.
Bridget, the appropriate response is, but Dave, Jesus believes in you. Anyway, so we go
he does. Dave.
But then the line. Then it's the line. That's what's supposed to hook you into like, oh, this kid's mysterious, and
that's why he's creepy.
Yeah. I mean, that's like, okay. I mean, that's not like you don't need to you have some weird sixth sense to like look at someone and be like, oh, he looks sad, like you deserve a happy ending, like you deserve happiness. That's not.
No, but he uses the exact same words as Judith. Mm-hmm. That's the thing.
It's not. I don't know. I guess it's not that freaky to me.
But based on nothing, like what? How does he know what his ending should be? Well, he doesn't know him for shit.
Because everyone should deserve a happy ending, right?
Man, the more you guys say it, the more I keep thinking the other thing. It's just really creepy.
Happy ending? Yeah. We all deserve a happy ending.
Some of us don't. Okay? Some of us right here don't.
No.
Anyway. Bridget's like, what is happening in this show?
Well, Jasmine just sent a screenshot of the map. So I was thanking her.
Ah, okay.
Oh, perfect.
Okay.
It ends in Paris.
Oh,
what ends in dun, dun, dun. Okay.
The route.
You'll see a little bit more of the map anyway again in the second episode too, because stuff happens. Anyway, so
Dave is creepy now. He has powers.
I have a drawing I actually do have a drawing of Daryl Dixon. Let me get it for you.
Is he underwater?
Is it a stick figure that you drew?
It could be. So I mentioned the advanced screening that I was privileged enough to be able to get to.
Did you get merch?
So yes, they were giving things out to people attending. Did you get more than
one, Dave?
Well, I sort of. So let me explain. Let me go step by step. The first thing they give you is a drink ticket. So I took advantage of that.
Yes.
The second thing they give you is all on the table. This is a table full of stuff. The first thing on the table is this. What's in here? Can you see this?
What is that?
It's a box.
It says The Walking Dead Daryl Dixon.
Is it a phone case? Looks like it's phone case.
Inside there was popcorn. Cute.
Oh, that's cute.
Right? Okay. Like a little small bag of popcorn.
I like that.
And it's actually pretty good popcorn. Okay. Second thing they give you is this rolled up tote bag. And I don't know if you're going to get to see it. Let me show you the front of it.
Okay.
I love that.
Hope is not lost.
Cool.
Dave, please tell me you took every single one that was left over.
Well, let me keep going. In the back,
I like that.
The back obviously has the following.
Looks like a decent quality bag too.
Yeah, it's like it's a burlap. It's semi decent. So obviously this has this in the
That's
back.
really
The Walking
cool.
Dead Daryl Dixon, AMC Plus.
Dang.
AMC Network's all rights reserved. Okay, that's cool. It has a little snap to it also, like a little snap to secure it.
That's pretty nice. Most free tote bags do not
Outta
snap
here.
shut.
Sarah Beth Pollock also went to a screening up in on the West Coast, and they actually had a more of a, I want to say like a traveling bag sort of. That's like it was like it's similar burlap, but a little bit more sturdier, and had a snap and like a sling style
crossbody.
bag.
Like a crossbody.
Yeah, crossbody. Thank you. They didn't have that here, but it was cool because they gave everybody water, Diet Cokes, regular Cokes, Sprites, all that stuff. Not sponsored by them. So that's just what they had. They gave people a free drink ticket. Drinks, obviously wanted more. You paid whatever, $15 for a whiskey, which I did. And what I did though, while I was there, was I managed to bring some Walking Dead stickers, and I met some people. And I have a ton of notes from this guy named Richie. And I might bring some of them up, but he was really, really happy with the title sequence. He was like talking about, oh, Daryl looks like Moses, and he's shepherding the Israelites through to
so
the
cool.
promised land. I know,
Richie?
he was like really going on about that. So I wanted to bring him up at least. And then a guy named Sean, who's like got into the Walking Dead after like a hospital experience, he was like seeing visions of demons and stuff like that. And
Bro,
the dead.
I want to talk to that guy.
So it was really cool. It was really cool.
You got their contact info, yes?
Yeah, I
I
want
have
to
their
talk to
phone
these
numbers.
people.
Richie blew up my phone right after I left him. He's
Love
like,
that.
He just gave me all his notes.
I love that. Love you,
It was
Richie.
great.
I don't know who you are, but
Oh, these need to be friends of ours.
So I got two more things I wanted to show you guys before we continue. And then we'll talk about Laurent again, because I kind of want to get your takes on it.
cups.
So there's these drink cups, obviously. This
Oh, I
is a
love
beer one.
that.
I won't tell you how I got them, because you'll think I'm gross, because I got them from the trash can.
Yeah,
And
dude,
then got
I
this
did that at
small-
Stranger Things.
I mean,
It's
just
okay.
wash 'em.
Yeah, you just
Yeah.
A cup is nothing.
we do things for
Yeah,
the
you wash
weird
it and
fandom
then- and it's
that we're
fine.
part of. It's fine.
Thank you for being so supportive.
Dude,
Daryl doesn't take a
you
bath. I take dirty things.
You grabbed a Buffy box out of the garbage for me at Pandemic because I wanted it.
I'm like, here it is.
I finally threw it away. I
It's in the garbage, so it's not
it was
stealing.
broken down already.
It was
so wasn't-
discarded.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so let's talk about Laurent. Rachel, you said he was creepy. Do you think there is something to this guy?
It's literally what Daryl calls him. That's
Daryl
why we
calls
keep
him,
saying
yeah.
creepy.
Do you think the same?
I think he's a little kid who was raised in the apocalypse, and I don't know a kid raised in the apocalypse who's not a little bit creepy, at least. I mean, this is just a creepy world. I mean, he thinks it's normal to read poetry to a dead man. So, I mean, how's that not creepy? At least a little bit.
It's his recitations.
Who was that like? Lizzie?
Oh, well, that was different. Lizzie made them dead first.
Well, give it time. Give it time.
I feel like part of his
Yeah.
creepiness comes from the fact that he clearly has a high IQ, and we know that high IQ people have low EQ.
Emotional
Yeah. And so
equivalence.
and the apocalypse makes that even worse, so he doesn't even know how to act normal around people.
Mimicking
Yes.
Daryl's motions.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, look, here's a guy. When was the last time he saw a man besides Per John? Here's a
Who's a
dude.
man of
and
the
he's
cloth,
like, oh,
essentially.
here's a guy. Yeah. Like, here's a real man of the world.
real man.
And he's
Right.
like mimicking. Well, you know what I mean? Like yeah. How else? Yeah. So he's like mimicking his
a normal
motions and
guy
stuff.
who isn't this fatherly figure. Yeah.
Right. So he's like mimicking his motions and like trying to like be like him, which I thought was endearing, actually.
Me too.
I was like, oh,
Yeah.
I thought so too. Yeah. Which is like, it's like akin to like the French pantomime, right? The whole idea of mimes. They came from Paris, that sort of thing. So I thought that was it was interesting.
fair.
I mean, yeah, he's a little creepy, but it's like, I don't know.
He's
He is
charming, I think,
endearing.
no?
There's a certain charm to him.
Yeah.
Props to this child actor because he's believable in this part.
Yeah.
Like he is believable as this kid. There was nothing about it that I was like, oh God. Like I was like, oh, okay. Like this kid is fine. Like, is he a little socially awkward? Sure, but he's been around nuns his whole life. He hasn't been like in the world. That's not meant to sound disparaging against nuns. They're lovely women, but
No, but you get
just
the point.
You're living in this sheltered world. You're not getting exposure to the outside world at all.
Right.
The mimicking Daryl thing was very cute. I know that was in there to to be endearing so that you feel some sort of like heartstring pull towards this kid. Cause it's just like, he wants what every kid wants, right? Like a supportive family. Right now, he doesn't have a dad. He's got women that he can consider like mom. You know, he's got like motherly people in his life. But how long has Father Jean been dead? We don't know.
Looks like it's been a minute.
It looked like it had been a little while.
It might be a lot more recent than we think, because there was references to him a little bit raising him for a while. I don't know for how long, and I don't know how old this kid is too, essentially. So
there has been
it must have been recent.
Wonky timeline stuff. I'm not like coming out to be like, I can't believe the timeline is wrong. Like, okay, you're living in the apocalypse. So like, who the hell has a calendar that you're like vigilantly checking? No one. So good luck if you can remember what day it is. But they did apparently, in the release of the final episodes of The Walking Dead, they did remove the 1 year later title card, is what I have heard. I have not seen this.
This is because Isabel says 12 years in.
She does. She says 12 years in.
Yeah, she does.
Mm-hmm. And if it's a year later, it should be 13.
Or they're playing with time, and at least with the last episode, and they kind of maybe the Daryl sequence was maybe before that. I don't know.
I don't know if it came from that or if it was from Dead City or what. But apparently in the Netflix release of the episodes, everyone was talking about this in one of the Facebook groups online about how the 1 year later thing is missing. Everyone's like, I thought it was, didn't it say 1 year later? And so then
guess what?
People were talking about
Tell them to do the math, because Eugene had a whole baby.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it is 1 year later, because what if Max was already pregnant?
I mean, she
Like,
would
it's
have been
not Eugene's
very,
baby.
very early.
Yes. But I'm just saying, like, you know, if she had been like 2 months along and she didn't know, so we didn't know, you know, that's 7.
But would they have been together for 2 months already?
But then it would be at minimum or at max 7 months. But see, it doesn't even matter, because they do the whole Commonwealth celebration of the day the place blew up. So it is 1 year.
That's true. It
is
You can't escape it.
But to Bridget's original point, no one is marking off days in a calendar.
Right.
All of this is an approximation anyway. One person might be like, oh, it's been 13 years. Someone else might truly believe it's only been 12. I feel like after this amount of time, years would start to blur together, and you really wouldn't know.
Oh my God, years blur together now. I can hardly remember how old I am.
With calendars, right? I have to do math to figure out how old I am.
You guys remind me how old I am all the time.
I feel like they're using the growth of children to measure the passing of time, but after a while, you even forget how old kids are. Like,
some of you have never watched soap operas, and it shows.
Right? For real.
Oh, God.
Soap opera kids age from episode to episode.
I was
5 years
born
in one
the
episode.
same time as Marina on Guiding Light, I think. Anyway, she's like probably 60 now.
But she plays a cool 42. Anyway, so they're asking us to presume, because obviously he's of a certain age, born on the day of the apocalypse, or a couple days after the fall, that he's 12, right? So, or 15. And
at least this kid
looks more 12.
12.
He still looks older, 12, but
there's sort of a way around this a little bit, and I'm not sure that this makes sense. I'm not sure this
27 playing a 12-year-old.
No.
Dave could play this kid.
Go the opposite way. What if it was known that the U.S. fell and that Paris fell only 3 years later, or something like that? Like, it's not us. Who knows? But it could be that Paris fell 3 years later, 2 or 3 years later.
I don't know if I would say that time stretch, because
I'm not convinced either. I'm not selling this at all. Right. But I'm just saying.
Well, we saw footage of Jenner at the beginning. That was pretty much at the beginning. Within the first few months of the fall, Jenner was sending messages to France.
His wife.
So we saw that footage.
The other Jenner. Right.
Right.
Listen, there are a bunch of clues about France and what happened to France that were dropped throughout, I don't know, both series, Fear and The Walking Dead, but I don't remember exactly what happened. Something about the wildfire virus in France. And
wait, I'm so confused, and you may have just blown my mind. Did you say that Dr. Jenner was sending messages to his wife?
The other Dr. Jenner.
No, his wife was
dead. She was
TS-19.
Oh, sorry. My bad.
He was sending messages
I was just like, I was like, have I been wrong this whole time?
No, his wife was TS-19.
Right. His
She
wife
was
was
dead.
My bad. I keep confusing the two. Because of the woman in the stinger for The Walking Dead World Beyond, I thought like, oh, that's the other Dr. Daryl. Like, no, she's not she's TS-19. Okay. So
I mean, we could maybe say daughter, but no, I think that's even a stretch. Like, no.
anyways, but yeah, so you're sending messages to France, which could be something that she was reviewing 2 or 3 years into the apocalypse until it finally happened in France.
All right, we don't
possible.
know. I mean, that's fair. A fair point.
We don't know. Jenner
It's a way around
did
it.
mention that he was in contact with certain places, and he
they were the last, but
Yeah.
even they had not contacted him anymore. So he had felt like even they had fallen.
Or they couldn't reach him. Also, there's that possibility as well.
Possible.
So that could answer that. I mean, satellites were falling in season 10 of The Walking Dead, and maybe they had been falling all along. Space junk. Huh? True.
That's just a joke, though. Like, the space junk thing is clearly Kirkman be like, Space Force.
Space Force. No, but it was specific. No, but Bridget, analysts, you have to be an analyst, and obviously space junk was a deliberate word. And so space junk is just knocking around without us managing it, because they go at 5,000 miles per hour.
I mean, it is true. They would fall.
Yeah, it's true.
But
Am I the only one that feels like Isabel is a very recent nun?
I mean, technically,
more recent than the others, yes. That is
Yeah.
correct. Because she
that have been there for a
Like,
while.
I think she has-
doesn't believe in God. But she also refers to the parish priest. So I feel like she had to have been there at least at the fall, I felt like.
Okay.
Whether or not she had like ascribed to the order, she could have just been there.
Mm-hmm.
She could have been
could have just been like a member
of the church.
like a church member
Yeah,
before
true.
becoming a nun too.
You will see her
Because she would
origin.
still know him just by being in the community.
Well, you'll see her origin story in the next episode. I'll say
I'm
that much.
excited to see it. Yeah.
All these
And
spoilers, Dave.
and
I know, right? This guy.
pre-apocalypse flashback too.
What?
Dang.
We don't get those very often.
David doesn't like those.
Is that the
Jasmine's
first
like,
one?
spoiler alert, spoiler
I
alert,
know.
part 2.
Right?
Wait, is that
That's
the
what I'm
first
saying, man.
pre-apocalyptic flashback? Well, other than the Carl and
No.
Well, so here's the thing. We can say
no, because we have Hope and
pre-apocalypse.
Iris pre-apocalypse also.
Well, but that was the night the sky fell.
Nope,
So
when they
that's
were
that.
little girls.
Oh, right. The memory flashback
yeah.
when they were
Yeah.
kids. I got you. Okay.
Yeah, David, you're not allowed to watch ahead, Jasmine says.
I couldn't. Anyway, I didn't tell you any details.
He had
I
to
just
go
said-
to get me that bag.
It's also in the trailer, by the way.
I was going to say, yeah.
It's in the trailer for the
Trailers
series.
are spoilers. We don't watch those.
I don't watch them. I did watch the next one.
I don't. I really
I
don't watch
usually
trailers.
the trailers.
Well, I didn't. Did I
Not
paint
unless
you
it's
a
on accident.
Did I paint you a literal picture? Like, no, I'm just telling you that this
sucks
exists.
because I
Yeah,
have
you
a
drew
bunch
me
of
a
notes
picture,
on the
and it
trailer.
looks like Jesus and the
Daryl
river.
naked. Yeah, exactly. Just as far as Laurent goes, I am open. I hate spooky beta shit, but I also kind of like, okay, as much as I hate it, there's also the whole, okay, it's interesting.
I like this kid.
Yeah, and I like the kid too. I think he's precocious. He's cute.
Oh, and I like that other kid because she is badass. Okay.
Which other kid?
Well,
Yeah,
I don't
what other
even
kid?
know. I'm gonna say she's not a kid. When I first saw her, I thought she was a kid, but
Maribel?
she was dressed as a nun.
the
black
young.
girl.
I was going to say the younger black
Oh.
girl.
Oh.
Yeah.
No, she's not a kid. She's like in her 20s.
She seems
She
younger,
looks
though.
like
She does
a
seem,
freaking
she does seem
baby.
younger. Yeah.
Okay, so
okay.
so
This
does
is the
Margot
beautiful
hang out like
segue.
she's older than
You'll see
I
more of
am.
her. Yeah.
So,
Awesome.
like,
You're all younger than me. You're all babies.
So this is a beautiful segue into what I really want to talk about next, and that is the medieval weapons.
Oh,
And how
yeah.
cool they are.
Yeah.
Oh, those
Yes.
are so cool.
Yes. I'm sorry, I got really excited.
Beyond that?
How many times?
What-
No. How many times have I talked about the book Typhoon? It's literally right here behind me. Walking Dead Typhoon is a novel, and you should read it if you haven't because it is amazing. And it's a one-shot novel, so you don't need to read anything else. You can just read that one if you want. But it takes place in China, and it's all about the fact that in other countries outside of the United States, people don't have such ready access to guns.
Right.
And so
like
they have to
Japan.
come up with other ways to fight. And that's what's cool about this. But also what was cool about it is that they are medieval weapons, because that was back when like churches and like that would have been used as like fortresses. And and they would have had to protect themselves against pirates, because pirates coming to steal relics was like a really big thing, because they were almost always made out of gold.
Which is why the nuns had to arm themselves.
Yeah. So
yes.
really
or
cool.
the orders.
I love, but also don't love how confident Isabel was when they were looking at the weapons, and she's like, and he's like, oh,
That's
kill
fine.
our nuns. And she's like, oh, well, we know how to defend ourselves. And then I thought in that moment, as she's saying it, I went, do you though?
I mean, not against guns. they can't do anything against those guns. Guys, I just want to say, if the actress is 19, how old could she possibly be on the show?
Wait, which actress?
Oh, she's
Sylvie.
only 19?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, all right.
She plays a 30-year-old.
Oh, she's 19 in real life. She's clearly 35 on this show.
Right. Well, to be fair, everybody kind of ages a lot in post-apocalypse, especially kids.
If she's 19 in real life, then
she's playing a
she's
7-year-old.
clearly 8. She's
Right.
8 years old on the show.
Exactly.
So she's Laurent's age. Yeah, exactly. They meet in the middle somewhere.
And Laurent's probably 5 years old. Yeah.
She was tough as nails, though.
Don't worry, they'll be kissing in the 3rd episode. And it'll be like, that makes sense. That makes sense. Accelerated
Why
apocalypse.
do you always take it too far? You always take it too far.
Because of Ollie and Charlie. I'm having flashbacks to that Fear the Walking Dead
line is
episode.
back there.
No, nobody liked it. I didn't like it then. I don't like it now.
It was so amusing to explore your reactions.
Uncomfortable. Everyone hated that.
Guys, I saw the episode where they I didn't really.
Well, I shouldn't say everyone.
It's in
but, like,
episode 2.
anyone over the age of 30 hated it.
Or we saw it.
I didn't hate it at all. What does that say about me? Anyway. But I should say, I did give a disclaimer during that episode saying, I don't care, period. It's not something I'm after. The whole disclaimer was like, even like Alexa Nisonson's posts, half of them I don't even like, because it's kind of like, well, what does it say if I like this photo of her modeling? And I'm like, no thanks. But that in a sweet moment doesn't bother me. That's where I'm at. It's
It was just uncomfortable. But anyway, we're not talking about that show.
We're not talking about
Daryl's
that.
show.
No, because we're just joking. We're just joking.
Yeah, joking. So 5-year-old Laurent is in the character.
Sitting in a tree. KIS. Anyway, let's go back to medieval weapons, because one of the things that Isabel drops regarding that was how Perjean's grandfather was fighting in the Maquis. The Maquis was a guerrilla group of French and Belgian fighters who were resisting the Nazi occupation of World War II. I thought that was very cool. Bringing in like even recent French history among these medieval weapons, talking about the history of France along the way. I should say that the Maquis is also brought up again in Star Trek The Next Generation, and it's like the basis of another resistance. They're resisting the Cardassian occupation of Bajor. So there's similar themes in terms of like if you want to call Bajor France, you want to call the Cardassians the Nazis, and they do have that kind of vibe going on.
That's what I said when I was watching like the never mind, it's about the trailer.
About the what? The trailer? Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Dang it. Never mind. Edit this out.
No, you know what? You should talk about it. Everybody should watch the trailers.
No, I'm firmly anti-trailer normally.
Jasmine's very offense that I was spoiling things.
Yeah.
I'm just saying things that,
she probably left. She did.
For good reason.
For good reason. I'm on your side, Jasmine. I'm with you.
I know. He thinks he's a hot shot now because he got to go to the preview.
I am. It's just a reality. It's just a fact.
And like our groups and stuff, even the ones that were super, super strict about spoilers, if it's in the trailer, then it's kind of free.
That's my exception. It's kind of like, okay, if anything I'm saying is in the trailer, which it was, then it's a free for all.
No,
not all of us have watched the trailer.
David, favorite moments, David. Anyway, which I'm working on. I'm going to be working on that. Top 7 favorite moments of Fear the Walking Dead prior to season 8.
But she says you're not saying it from watching the trailer.
You keep saying in episode 2, not in the trailer.
Well, I'm saying it because it appears in the trailer.
He's a hot shot now.
You're just scared that I'm going to spoil something.
We'll give him this week because next week everything's going to go back to normal.
Then we'll all be the same.
We're all in the same boat.
And you'll all realize that I didn't say anything special because so much more happens. Anyway,
so much more, you guys.
So much more, you guys. So much more movement. Bowel movements.
He can only lord it over us for so long.
Bowel movements?
We were talking about the weapons room, and a bunch of my laughing crying emojis comes from Daryl being in the weapons room when he gets completely sick of the nuns and all their crap and the creepy kid.
Like, I'll borrow this too. I'll borrow that. I'll borrow. You know what made me laugh genuinely the first time I saw it? I was like, let me pick up this mace that's like a smaller version of the Morning Star that he had in season 10.
Mm-hmm.
Just let's it's the baby one, as the French do. Come at me, bro.
Wow.
Should I say it in French?
We apologize,
you know
Fran.
what they're going to say about us? Yeah, because everything's bigger in American, fatties.
Yeah, we'll take it. It's fine. We'll take it.
Bigger ego, bigger asses.
Is better.
True.
Yeah. It is true.
Yeah, it is. My ass.
If you don't know I'm joking.
France.
And also, they have no sense of jokes.
I apologize to France. All of France.
No, don't.
Yeah,
it's fine.
They can't take a joke. So
my brother-in-law's French. So yeah, no, he's fine. It's fine. She'll be offended. I don't care. Anyway.
Oh, you're making all of America look terrible. This is why people hold grudges against entire nations, David.
Yeah,
I think all of you.
Dave alone has made America look terrible.
You are making America look terrible.
I just have one word. Florida.
Just
the
did it
defense
just now.
rest.
We've been great up until this point, and just now, Dave
that Dave offensed all of France
right now.
Yeah.
American Sandy was great until I spoke.
He can't even speak his own language.
Right. So that tells you something right now about David.
I don't talk English too good. So Takira,
I know word well.
Yeah.
What else about the
Why
the
use
weapons
many
room?
word when few word do
Few
trick.
word do good trick.
I'm going to borrow this and I'm going to borrow this. And I'm thinking, dude, you are never giving any of this back. You're not borrowing a thing. And then he was like, what's here? And I feel like there was a crossbow there and he knew there was a crossbow there and it was missing and he wanted it. Because he said, well, what was right there? And she was like, oh, that's what I was using.
Oh, that was a gun.
She used the pistol earlier on to ward off the grifters. So that's what it was. Yeah.
Okay.
I just like the idea of they're using powdered flintlock guns. It's wild, revolutionary style guns.
Mm-hmm.
It
Well,
just
you
blows
wouldn't
my
have
mind.
regular guns. Not many people can have guns in highly restricted countries with very strict gun laws.
Yeah, true.
Can we talk about the fact that they already killed everybody?
In the order?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I was like, is little girl coming with us too? Is she coming with?
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking. Is it going to be the
Jasmine's
going
to yell if I say anything else. I'm kidding. But no, I will say,
actually answer me. I didn't watch episode 2. I'm not a hot shot.
Meanwhile, let me just say what Jasmine says. Not enough to have your own language. Unlike American European countries don't have guns on every corner. First of all, America doesn't have guns on every corner.
We don't.
Wacko.
It's a drastic
misnomer.
Yeah.
Even though there are more guns than people.
I mean, there are a lot of guns in America.
Yeah.
Go try to get one in New Jersey. Good luck.
Yeah, I know. New York State. New York State.
It's not like that everywhere, Jasmine.
We technically have constitutional carry, but we're technically not allowed to anyway.
It's not like that everywhere.
No, but let's talk about that moment because I thought that was a pretty cool moment where like the nuns were standing off against Codon's people.
Yeah.
I loved that.
And knowing that they would get shot, they just charged anyway. That was wild.
Well, that's what I was thinking
pause.
when she like stabs that guy like so
Sylvie,
viciously. All I could think.
Stop spoiling Kira. I'm kidding.
All I could think was, okay, so this is the point where they're willing to kill. You know, because Isabel was very careful in like everything that she said. Everything she said was really calculated, like in her conversation with Daryl earlier. I don't know if you guys caught that, but like she didn't lie about the radio. Technically, she lied through omission, but she didn't actually lie because she said
she quickly pivoted too.
Yeah, she said like, well, yes, I used it to contact someone a couple months ago. I haven't been able to get a hold of him since. Yeah, because it doesn't work. Like that's why you're leaving out. But okay.
Dale's like, why bullshit?
And he's like, can I use it? And she's like, yes, when you're better. Because it's like, yeah,
Maybe
you could try. It doesn't work, but you could try it when you're better.
That was another thing I laughed at when he dropped the F-bomb at her. He was so mad.
Oh, you're fucking around.
You're fucking with me.
But I did like that, you know, because she talks about like, he's like, oh, so killer nuns. And she's like, well, we can defend ourselves if we have to. She's very like calculated because it's not like they would just go out murdering people.
And kill
Obviously,
people.
they still have like a belief
Murder
system
nuns.
based on like morals.
I would watch that movie.
Yeah, right.
So I thought it was interesting to see like they are willing to kill for Laurent, hands down. And they're willing to kill.
I mean, you could argue that they were defending him. Yeah, that was definitely defense.
Well, because that's their kid too. You're talking about like an order of mothers to this kid.
Yeah.
I just thought it was interesting to see like, okay, that's where your line is. Now I know.
One thing to also note is that when Daryl gets the shot on Caudron and Caudron flees, the
Is that
mother's
Tattoo
spirit.
Face?
Yes, that's Tattoo Face.
Okay, thank
I
you.
feel like we keep saying this and you're just like, whoosh, it's gone.
I don't know his name
No, I've
either.
heard his name like every time you say his name, I forget it immediately after you say it.
Listen,
Me too.
I have that problem sometimes too with specific instances, but yeah. So Caudron is Codron, Caudron, played by Roman Levy, which I'm like,
Tattoo
oh, is
Face.
it a Jew? Tattoo Face is a Jew?
Face.
I don't know. Anyway, so among nuns, this isn't looking good. So
You can't do that.
So he flees, and on the way, Daryl's like going after him, but Mother Superior stops it, even though she's like mortally wounded. She stops and she goes, no, forgive him, don't go after him. But he still goes after him. But I just thought that was an interesting moment. She's saying he's fleeing, now you stop, basically, essentially. Going on what you were saying before of they only kill when they have to, when they're being attacked, let's say, or trying to defend somebody. He's
I
fleeing, let
literally
him go.
screamed, "Get out of his way, lady!"
So Takira, are you a religious person? She's laughing because she's not. It's like, fuck that. For those who don't know, I'm giving the middle finger.
I've had bad
I'm kidding.
experiences.
Bridget and Rachel just looked at me like I'm the devil because I was kidding. I was flipping the bird, but I was kidding. It's got silent in here.
Do we think a burner's touch is similar at all to a walker bite?
Oh, yeah. I was curious about that because she said cauterization is the best way to prevent the spread, which I thought was really interesting. I couldn't tell if it was like it'll spread and you'll lose your arm. The acid is spread because like acid. Okay, so he just poured water on it. That's not gonna.
Well, to dilute it, I'm sure.
Yes, but that's not gonna stop it. But burning it also would not be the route to go. If you want to stop an acid, you have to add a base.
But is it acid? That's the other question. Could it be
well, that's
bacterial?
the belief. Sorry, that's
so
the belief so far. But yeah, sure, it could be something else.
I mean, I thought about this a little bit too because a lot of it depends on the body chemistry of the walker and the however it's being.
That's what I was thinking.
It's traveling to. Is it on the skin? Is it an oil or is it like some sort of secretion on the skin? So it could be a lot of things.
That through experimentation, that somehow like their actual body fluids turned into
acidic,
like an acidic. Yeah.
Yeah, I was picturing like Alien.
Wait, expand on that.
The movie Alien.
Oh, okay. See, you have to. You can't just say. I was thinking Alien. Silence.
Well, that's why I said
the movie Alien.
I didn't say Alien.
I wasn't thinking
that would have
that.
been confusing. That's why I didn't say the second one.
Oh no, that's the second one. Yeah. Right. So like the acid saliva, I think it was, right? I think it was the saliva.
Was all of its bodily fluid. Like if it
was acidic.
If it bled, it was.
Oh, it would create holes in floors and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Could be. But like if it was a bacterial sort of infection, but then it's probably acid or an organic acid or organic solvent or something like that. Wouldn't it be? How would it not eat away at the walkers is my thought. Especially because they don't have a heart to pump blood.
Whatever it is already partly diluted or mostly diluted. Otherwise, it would have eaten all the way through his arm. Yeah. And like you said, it would have eaten through the walkers themselves. So my assumption was it was whatever killed these people. They died from whatever this is, and then they absorbed it somehow. And now that they're walkers, they're getting it all over everything else.
The other answer to this question could be exposure to to oxygen. So basically, once it leaves the body, that's when it activates. It could be. So
we've all seen Fight Club, right?
Yeah.
The chemical burn. What was the chemical
Lye.
that he put on him that burned him?
Lye.
Was it
lye.
lye? I don't think
It's a base.
It was it?
Did he
It's a
pour lye
base.
on it?
He kissed his hand,
Yeah.
which got it wet with saliva, and then he put a chemical
part
on
of
it, which
soap.
caused the burn.
It's part of soap.
Yeah. So
Okay.
lye's the base. I think it
So
is.
maybe it was something in that family that would cause a surface burn without eating all the way through the flesh. Maybe these people were murdered and like buried with lye on that, like a bad guy was trying to get rid of
Dissolve the bodies.
I need to shut up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Please
This is
edit
how
all
you-
this
and this
out.
is how you do it, kids.
I'm sounding like a serial killer right now.
So kids, listen to Cosmom09.
No.
She'll teach you how to
No.
bury the bodies. Get rid of the evidence.
While we're researching, Jasmine says, yeah, burning with more burning is a new one to me. So she's not, so nothing is coming to our medical friends.
Okay.
So it was a
knowledge
lie.
here.
Yeah, you do put lye.
Let me just read this word for it. In a scene in the film Fight Club, Tyler Durden, played by Brad Pitt, which is whatever.
Yep.
I won't get to that. No spoilers on that.
Anyway,
Sorry,
don't
Jasmine.
spoil it. Gosh.
It places the highly basic substance, the base, lye or NaOH, which is potassium, oxygen, hydrogen. No, it's not potassium. Na is nitrogen. What is Na?
Sodium.
Anyway.
Sodium.
Na is sodium.
Thank you. Na, so sodium, oxygen, hydrogen. On the moistened hand of unsuspecting Edward Norton, the painful burn that results in Durden's method of neutralizing with acid vinegar is explained by the process of denaturation.
So say that in normal.
So the
human
lye is a
terms.
base. So if you remember pH, you have acids and
Yes,
bases,
the
right?
pH scale. Yeah.
Most things are
Acid,
acids.
alkaline.
So the acid vinegar, neutralizes the base of the lye.
Okay. But it burns him because of the lye.
Yes.
Right, and the lye is a basic.
Yeah, because
base.
I watch people make soap with tallow, like with beef tallow. I don't know why. It's because something I've learned about. But anyway.
It's a fat. It's another fat. Yeah.
It's just something I like to watch. Anyway, so in that process in which they do that, they pull out all of the impurities out of the tallow, which is like the animal fat that you render down. So the tallow that's left over dries above any water. So you use salt and water to pull out the impurities out of the tallow. Once the tallow is clean, you then combine it, you melt it down and you combine it with lye and then any other ingredients that you're using. So it is fat. So any kind, you have to use a fat. So that's where the tallow comes in. You boil that fat with lye or potassium hydroxide. And then hydrolysis of the fats and oils occur, yielding glycerol, which is soap.
Okay.
Yep.
Cauterization can also reduce the risk of infection.
Yes.
It is used to treat diseased tissue and remove it, which prevents the spread of infection-causing bacteria. I looked up all the reasons you would cauterize something.
I guess it must be a bacterial infection then, Dave, because there's no other
That's what I was
reason to
thinking.
cauterize it. And Jasmine just said medical opinion,
minimize it.
simply clean and dress the wound. That's what I thought of. And that's what he did at first. Then Isabel says, you're lucky you didn't lose your arm. So clearly like that treatment of cleaning the wound and dressing it was not enough.
Yeah, essentially the cauterization was their form of denaturation, or it could be bacterial infection, essentially.
I just feel like whatever it is, it was exacerbated by the wildfire virus. And that's why typical treatments might not help as much as they would.
Right. So it might be more resilient. And it's like the guts trick too, right? It may kill you. It most likely will make you turn and make you sick. But sometimes you can survive. Like Father Gabriel.
Sometimes you just
can
lose an eye.
survive. Right. He lost the eye through the infection, right? Through the fever, mostly. Where's that aspirin now? Who knows? Anyway, so the poem that Laurent recites to the Walker Father Père Jean is called
The Walker Father.
The Walker Father Père Jean.
Walker Father.
Walker Father is it's called Liberté by Paul Éluard. The line that he's reading in English, well, obviously you know what the poem's about. It's a resistance poem from basically back when it was around the World War I, World War II. The lines that he's reading is that on every piece of dawn, on the sea, on the ships, on the demented mountain, I write your name, which the name is Liberty. But it goes through all the things that remind him of liberty, basically. I thought that was kind of interesting. It might be something we might revisit because the overall theme, obviously, of the show is hope. But throughout, so far that I've seen, it seems to be like a lot of the series deals also with this reawakening of the concept of liberty. like you said, there are like different, Bridget, you said like orders, and essentially trying to reestablish an order of some kind. But everybody has a different idea of what that could be. And especially in France, where you have different ideas now, today, in this time, different ideas of how that can be done. France has kind of gone the way of a more social welfare country. So it's very interesting to see how post-apocalyptically they're going to deal with this idea that they had a long while ago called liberty. When you think of liberty, sometimes people think of the French Revolution and how they overthrew the monarchy and established like parliament and all that stuff. But, you know, here we might see a revival of that in the series in some form or fashion, or at least on an individual level. So I'm curious to see how they deal with that. And I'll make the poem available on our blog too, in English and in French.
Don't you guys think that 12 years into the apocalypse, they should know by now to just stab Father Walker in the head and move on?
Well, I think they have faith. I'm not sure what they're expecting. I don't want to believe that they truly think he's going to like be human again. But like, are they just trying to pray for his soul? Or it wasn't clear to me what the end game was with keeping him around.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like the defining line between metaphorical truth and actual belief. We believe in transfiguration, or like the Lazarus effect of our loved ones being reborn, or that sort of thing. So I think you get to a line, up to a line, and at that point you said, no, we believe that. If we believe that Laurent is the cure, let's say, because a lot of the stuff that they're talking about, this kid being a miracle child, about the messenger and delivering him to the right place so that he can learn to be the Messiah, let's say. If you believe that, then you have to believe in other things. Like, so you get to the point where like, okay, no, we believe in literal transfiguration, or we believe in literal apocalypses and stuff like that. No, this is what's going to happen. So I can easily see why they'd keep him around to see if it worked, or of all people that should be saved from this, it would be Père Jean.
I don't think they look at him as a literal cure. It's more of a spiritual cure.
Yeah.
To lead the new group of humanity, not actually bring the dead back to life.
Right.
In which, I mean, and also like he died and then came back. Not how you wanted him to, but he did reanimate.
Yeah.
Well, she does say something to the effect of even him, meaning we believe in forgiveness and more like forgiving our enemies sort of thing. But she extended that to Père Jean in his current state too.
We also don't know how he died.
Right. I was just thinking about that.
I actually wonder about that. I would say this. I think that they believe in the literal cure, or they believe in the literal, they can return him back. I think we think that we'll probably take that and say, no, maybe he's just to give people hope. Actually, Bridget's probably a better person to ask this question.
I couldn't tell based off the very limited amount of dialogue that we got about it. They probably do, because like that's something you would believe in, but I don't know, because I want to be careful about what I say here. This doesn't align with my views, because he's just a man. Catholicism has different beliefs, and I don't know enough about it to really say one way or the other.
They had to have seen more than just him die and turn into a walker, and we're far enough into the apocalypse like that they should have just a common sense understanding, like this guy was not coming back.
Maybe that's not the point also. Maybe they don't kill the undead. Maybe they don't put them down based on like principles also. I'm saying in addition to maybe even literally believing that Laurent could bring him back. Because of all people, you'd think that, you know, of all the people who have been undeaded, who better to receive the cure than Père Jean?
I'm even more curious to find out why or how he died.
Yeah.
I almost wonder if the circumstances surrounding his death have anything to do with why they were holding on to him and keeping him and praying for his soul.
I hope we find out. I'm not sure that we will. And it's probably better that they don't actually go into it.
I mean, if it has something to do with the story of Laurent, then we might need to know. But
like, how long did they plan on praying for his soul?
Forever.
I'm not gonna wait around for this dude to wake up.
So let me tell you about this thing called Christianity, because they've been waiting for this guy to come back for 2,000 years. So I'm just saying.
In the grand scheme of things, that's not that long.
A couple of years isn't so bad. Yeah, dropping the bucket.
That's not that long in the grand scheme.
No shade. I'm just saying.
Catholicism, some of their beliefs have changed over time with the different popes, and I'm not trying to offend anyone, like at all. This is just like knowledge that I have from years past. So like this could be different, but purgatory was a Catholic belief. I don't know that it is anymore, because I believe that one of the popes ruled not, but I'm unsure about that. Purgatory was a belief that you could go to a place in between heaven and hell, and that people prayed for you to gain admittance into heaven. I don't know if that was it. Did he commit some sort of grave mistake? Was he a creep? I don't know.
Well, they also believe in limbo, though, right? Which is a different place.
That maybe is the part that was
Christianity, general Christianity. No. I'm not sure. I don't know.
I'm saying Christianity does not believe in limbo or purgatory.
Oh, okay.
General, most sects of Christianity do not believe in limbo or purgatory. That is specifically a Catholic thing, but it could be also Episcopalian because they were an offshoot of the Catholic Church.
So maybe their thinking was that they pray for his soul until the actual walker dies on its own. That's how they know that he
was redeemed.
Yeah.
Could be anything.
Released.
Right.
Seems like a dead end at this point.
Yeah.
Now that I'm thinking about it, I don't know. And we might never know. Mother Superior is dead. Mm-hmm. I mean, the rest of the nuns are dead. And we're going to be going on this journey of hope, essentially.
Well, Isabel might have a story to tell us later on.
That's safe to say.
Also, I don't love that her name is Isabel.
Because of the other Isabel?
Yes.
Walking Dead Universe?
Yes.
But one's French and one isn't. And there's another Jenny.
Millions and millions and millions of names to choose from. We have two. I have an entire folder in my phone dedicated to recycled names throughout the universe. So it's happened a lot.
I do want to say one thing. I don't know how accurate of a representation of anything this show would be, okay? Because this is taking actual beliefs that people believe and it's distorting it to fit this storyline. So I want to just state that outright because I don't want anybody to listen to this and be like, this chick doesn't know what she's talking about at all. I don't claim to know a ton about Catholicism. I'm Lutheran. So in the course of history, we were once enemies. So I don't know.
Martin Luther?
I don't know.
Anyway.
I don't know. And so I'm sorry. Do not. Yeah, he was German. My intention is not to offend anyone. I'm just trying to take the bits of knowledge that I have from going to a Catholic college, learning about different, religions through the course of my life. Seriously, do not mean to offend anybody at any point.
Meanwhile, I'm flipping the bird, jokingly at you guys for believing in things. But I'm joking.
Yeah, we do.
I hope. That's why people hate me. Anyway, moving on.
So the Twitterverse made way too much of a big deal out of this little bathtub scene with Daryl and Isabel, even though I kind of was sitting there so do nuns normally walk into a room with a naked man in a bathtub that doesn't have bubbles in it? Besides that,
it was super milky though.
Yeah, it was.
It was filth.
But besides that, I was they made way too much of a big deal out of it. It was literally just.
I read something that was
a big deal.
Yeah.
These two are definitely gonna bone, and it's okay. Can I say something? Just because a man and a woman are together does not mean that they're gonna bone. Right. How many times do I have to say this? Hey, guess what? I'm friends with Dave. Dave and I are not gonna bone.
No, you don't have other friends named Dave. Oh, me.
Yeah. We're not gonna bone.
Yeah.
Right.
I love my husband.
Yeah. People need to stop pushing characters.
So much time.
I don't.
I'm in the box. No, I'm kidding.
His wife is smoking hot.
Yeah.
So
love you, Evelyn.
Seriously. She's great. She's great.
She's great.
She hears me. She can hear.
I'm so excited.
She can hear. Her ears are ringing right now because I'm talking about her. She's going to be later on tonight. You're going to be like, "Hey, was Rachel talking about me?" Because my ears were ringing.
You'll be like,
and you're going to lie, and you're going to lie and be like, "No,
we're not going to bone for some reason."
The whole thing.
We're going to announce this on the podcast. Really don't.
I agree. I think the internet definitely needs to calm down with putting characters together like this. However, I will say, in the moment when she reached towards an inappropriate area and then he grabbed her for a split second, I'm like, and then he was like, "Oh, scars," and I was like, "Oh, okay, whew, I can breathe." I was like, "No, don't go there."
I'm not mad at it. I'm not mad at it at all.
I was like, what is happening? I was like, oh, what? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Daryl, get some of that non-action.
Not that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm fine with it. It's fine.
I don't know. Of all the people,
there could be a romantic story. I don't care. There can be. I really don't care. But I'm just saying, it doesn't automatically always have to be that.
Right.
They did the same thing with Dead City and gross.
Yeah. Personally, I think I would be upset if these two characters did have anything romantic because she dedicated her life to God. She's a nun, and if anything did happen, like her vows mean shit now, and I would have much less respect for this character, and I don't want that to happen. So,
in a broken world, though, I don't know.
Yes, especially in a broken world, your vows should mean more right now. Well, I mean, maybe not more, but your vows mean something as a nun.
Yeah,
like,
they mean something, but just like countries don't have borders. And the Walking Dead universe being a sort of gray area where you do label certain people as good guys and bad guys, let's say. But at the end of the day, if you get the full picture and you take in every perspective, kind of like we were saying about Codon earlier, the guy,
Tattoo face,
his brother was murdered. You know, if we were in his shoes, we'd want an answer at the very least, if not satisfaction. That my brother's. So vows, and we look at. I mean, a lot of us look at religion. I mean, especially people who don't believe. We look at religion as a black and white issue. You're either there and you're committed, or you're not and you're not. You know, that's some people. I'm kind of. I would classify myself more as an agnostic, let's say, or I don't like to classify myself. I do see the wisdom in religion, and I just don't follow the practices. So I think most people, though, are black.
You are very traditional.
But not really.
Not even sort of. You are much more traditional than most other Jewish friends that I have. Like you, well, I feel like your religion is very important to you. We have weekly lessons. Well,
let me give you a little bit of background. So I was raised in a very religious house. Well, I wasn't at first, but we were raised on tradition, like by the book traditions.
Yeah.
But then as I grew up, my parents became more religious. My family became more religious. I went to religious schooling and I grew up and then I retained a mass of Jewish knowledge. But then, I'm like a in-between place person. I see the utility.
You're freelance.
I work freelance for Judaism, right? Well, going back to Isabel specifically, I would say that in a broken world where there's no borders and bad guys are kind of gray and taking a different perspective, you could see things differently. I wouldn't be mad at her either relaxing her vows or realizing that maybe they weren't for her to begin with or something like that.
Didn't we already watch them all break their vows? They killed people or tried to.
It was in defense. Even in the Bible, you kill in time of war.
Right.
They're still on a holy mission.
There's lots of killing in the Bible.
You've still ascribed to the fact that your job, your holy mission from God is that you are to protect this child and get him where he needs to be, because they said he is the new Messiah. Mm-hmm. So I just want to clarify, that is the second coming of Christ. Mm-hmm. Is what they're saying. I don't know that this creepy kid is that, but that's their belief.
So maybe going back to the Père Jean question, maybe they do believe in literal the dead coming back to actual life, not just undead reanimation.
Not just reanimation.
This goes back to, it's a line that Herschel delivers in season 2 of The Walking Dead, where he says something to the effect of, the Lord said that the dead would rise. I just didn't think it would be like this. It's something to that effect.
Yeah, I think you mostly nailed it.
Yeah.
It reminds me a lot of that. Mm-hmm. So the resurrection is a real belief. I believe in the resurrection.
Literal, though. Yeah. Not metaphorical.
Not metaphorical. Yeah. A real resurrection. Now, I don't know what that looks like because, end times Revelation is a wild book of the Bible that takes you on a real ride. And so I don't know what that looks like. None of us do. But that's kind of that's what faith is, right? Is like believing without seeing.
Right.
So
without proof even.
Yeah. So I believe without proof, and I don't know what that will look like.
Right. But otherwise they're operating on faith that he'll be restored, let's say, or at least redeemed.
At very least redeemed, yeah.
Or at least the virus ends and then he just collapses. That's could be.
I mean, it could be anything.
Maybe.
I think we should skip to the end, to the stinger part where you meet Janae and the captain of the ship and the doctor, let's say. She's
giving real Kublek vibes.
Yeah, essentially. So let me just start by saying the word Genet, Genet, means broom in French. So she's cleaning house. Yeah,
cleaning house.
Exactly. So now we can talk about real things. Okay. If you had to identify this group in any way, do you think they have any associations to any groups that we know of in the universe, or do you think this is?
They look a very Civic Republic. In my opinion.
Immediately wrote, "This chick is CRM." That's what I wrote down.
I'm not ready to yet, but
I don't know that is the case. It's just like the dress, her like attire very much gave off that
black
vibe.
trench coat.
It's like that pea coat material, I don't know, it just had that look.
If they have ships capable of sailing across oceans, I mean, why not?
I love that you said that, because in the conversation she mentioned it took them 3 years.
3 years.
To
3 years to
rehab
get that
this
ship
boat.
in shape. Yeah.
Very
For
interesting.
Daryl to
get ship
destroy it.
Yeah.
Well, he just
Almost.
it looked like he destroyed the lab area,
Equipment.
right?
Yeah.
The equipment that they were like researching.
And caused a mutiny.
Yeah,
And
he caused a
causing it,
prison
yeah.
riot, basically.
So like whatever they're doing, I believe it's something bad. Like I think these are our bad guys.
Seems like
Because
the music
because
suggests.
Daryl's our good guy.
Sorry,
If
did
Daryl
she
says
have like
if Daryl says
did she
I
have
don't
evil
like
eyebrows
this,
or a
then
mustache? Was she twirling a mustache?
She had,
she
evil
had like
lips.
she had
evil
like a
lips.
scar and an eye patch and a hook for a hand.
And she
so
tied
she's
Daryl to
definitely
a
a villain.
railroad track. It gave it away.
Yes. And she
With,
threw
like,
like a
piano
bag of
music in
money
the
over her
background.
shoulder and tiptoed away. So she's definitely a villain.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. She wore an evil hat.
I think they purposely wanted us to think of Elizabeth Kublek and Jadis Stokes when we looked at her.
Ooh, but
I love it.
yeah.
I don't even want to
But
talk about
you know what?
Jadis.
I'll extend a little bit of that grace that you were giving to Codon to Genet too, because like they're doing their thing. Codon's doing his thing. I don't know how far this group takes it, but they're obviously doing scientific experiments. Daryl didn't like it, but then again, Daryl says I made a bunch of bad decisions too. So
The bad decisions led him to the bad people, right?
Or it seems to me like a lot of the things he gets into is deciding to trust people that otherwise he shouldn't trust.
Should not be trustworthy.
Well, he
Right.
said he ran into bad people and they threw him on a boat, basically. So I just feel like, why were there prisoners on this boat if they weren't the experiments?
Well, there's also the test subjects, which were walkers, right? They were chained up and whatnot.
I mean, they were.
What's
they
that
were
sound
then.
like to you?
Maybe they arrived on the ship
World
as
Beyond.
human,
Right.
maybe.
Sounds
maybe.
a lot like World Beyond.
and maybe Daryl was one of those people. And when he saw what they were doing, he was like, "Oh, hell no!
Hell no.
Burn this shit down."
And to Bridget's point, she says it sounds like a lot like World Beyond.
Yep.
A's and B's and stuff like that. Could be.
Yep.
Could be. But then again, like, right.
Serum's like, "Hey, France, check out what we're doing."
We're doing a lot better. Oh, our New York office exploded a couple years back. No shade. We're just going to keep rolling on. Okay.
We were taken down by 2 teenagers. I don't know. Freaking
what are you gonna do?
America, am I right?
Kids. Right. All the guns.
Damn kids. All of a sudden, it's like an episode of Scooby-Doo. If it weren't for those
Meddling
meddling kids, we would have those meddling kids.
Firstly, you said cotton picking.
We would have.
Whoa.
But you know what's funny about that? That's how they spoke. It's really weird.
Whoa.
That's what they said.
I know.
It was terrible.
I can't wait to edit this out, but how can I? I can't. It's just,
It was terrible.
I love you so much. I can't tell you. Shut up.
Meddling,
Meddling, right.
Meddling.
Meddling kids.
Meddling kids, yeah.
I'm crying. Oh, goodness.
They blew
Okay.
up our building and all of our test subjects.
So, I
Stole our scientists.
but they're just trying to get the cure? Me, question mark? I don't know.
Question mark.
So
I don't
it
know.
reminds
I don't know
me
what to
of
make of this
Troy
person.
too and his experiments. What
Does
was
it,
the
though?
point of that? Are you looking for the cure? Or are you just like screwing around? Science for the sake of science.
I like understanding it more, right?
This is a good opportunity to go back to the title sequence, which we can go on impressions of that. But one specific sequence was a book of the human body written in Latin with the musculatory system, but it looks like a walker, right? Obviously. And one of the things that was written down in red ink is French, right? And it says the following: "Contrôler la mort," which means control death. Very interesting. You'll see that on the top left of the page, the left page. There's a little bit of red ink in the middle of the page on the right, the left page on the right. And it says, "Si on suit recharge cœur, ça va se diffuser plus vite," which means if you recharge the heart. So if you restart the heart, the virus will spread faster. On the right side, there's a picture of the brain. I couldn't make out the words that were there. I like that it's written in Latin, and then there's French notes. So obviously they're studying the dead.
Guys, I'm reading through my notes. It says, laugh, cry, laugh, cry, laugh, cry. Why did Daryl give her the hand? Because he said, I have no idea what you're talking about.
Obviously. Crazy lady.
That was when she started really getting into like the religious stuff. And when she said the revival of humanity, the look on Daryl's face, I just lost it.
Yeah. The funny thing about Daryl is that he doesn't give the reactions that I would. I'd be like, fuck that. Yeah. He's just like this. Just like side eye. He's like, it's giving her the side eye. He's like, gonna go. Bye.
Yeah. And while I'm borrowing this and this. And
yeah, I'm just borrowing. That's like when somebody like reaches into your snack bag. I'm gonna borrow this. Can I borrow this? Can I borrow a piece of gum? I'll give it back. So I mentioned the book because it just kind of goes back to the scientists at the end. I'm like, have they found out more about what being an undead means too? Obviously, Mrs. Broom is a force to be reckoned with. They want to get Daryl Dixon back, apparently. Why? Who cares? Let him go.
Revenge, obviously.
That's what I want to know. Like, who cares?
Like, I'm thinking, if you lose a lab rat, I mean, yes, you should destroy the lab rat, right? Because you don't want it to contaminate the populace.
Well, he destroyed the lab. So they're like, fuck this dude. We need to kill him.
I wonder, like, why not just get new test subjects and move on? Because do you know what I'm saying? Like, that's not the mission.
No, that's not ever how it is, though. It's like people are always like petty and like vindictive in these shows.
Well, I asked the question because could there be something more to it?
Oh, because Daryl's the cure and they need him.
I think it's just revenge.
Yeah,
so you think it's like a Rick thing, Bridget?
No, I was lying. I don't want that at all to be the case.
That was
I said it with sarcasm. My eyes literally rolled back in my head.
Yeah.
But now I'm not kidding.
It was so heavy.
No, I was kidding. I do not think that that's it. You know what? It's the bacterium that he's grown on his body by not showering. That is actually the cure. It's like under penicillin.
It's a human petri dish.
Yeah, basically.
They don't want this dangerous person that's going to go around and destroy things just running free in France. I don't know.
Okay, I think Jasmine has a good point. They want to know how he escaped. Remember, our characters are always special badass assets. So, I mean, maybe they want to know how he escaped so that they can stop other people from escaping so we can fix our mistakes.
It's like those hackers that they hire to hack into things so that they can figure out where their security is lacking.
Yeah.
Yeah. The white hats, basically. Yeah.
I think that's a good theory, but I still think it's just revenge. I think this bitch is like, you destroyed my lab, I'm going to destroy your face.
She's like, all this destroyed for one American?
Yeah. I'm CRM and I'm mad.
Well, she doesn't have a haircut.
The plot of like every movie ever.
She doesn't have a bad haircut.
One person did something terrible and I'm going to destroy an entire city just to find them.
You have a bad haircut if you're lower level CRM.
I see.
Once you're higher level, they let you have better hair.
Which, by the way, at the end of the day, she never had
hairstylist.
Yeah, she was never CRM too, which is the weird part. Maybe she was like, I'm CRM, quote unquote. Like she's like, I'm all for it, but never was. What was your overall impression of the title? It's like, because it was some talk online on the web, on the www about people being on the fence about it. Not really liking it as much. And I was kind of like, well, I don't understand why.
What? That's the thing you're picking out?
It's different and it's not as horror sounding as some other ones. That song is kind of beautiful that they're playing in the title sequence.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Did you miss?
Right.
Is that what it is? You wanted that? You want that
From
back?
Fear? Nobody. I don't want that back.
I never want that
some
back.
people do that.
I can't stand watching those episodes for that reason. Like, I always have to like, oh God, hit the mute button quick. It's coming.
Yeah. No, really. That was me too.
It's like so loud.
It's not showing Daryl, I guess, as much as you would think in his title sequence, but who cares?
I don't know.
I like it.
Negan or Maggoty at all.
Yeah, since when are we like so focused on a title sequence that we're like, I don't like it.
Right.
The last time I remember talking about one so much is when it changed, when The Walking Dead changed in like for season 9, and that was like a huge. It was like a huge difference because they had the same one. Oh, I see, and I loved it.
Yeah, I did.
I loved the change.
I did too.
I mean, we talked about the Dead City intro a little bit, but
and the music helped too.
Yeah, I mean, I think this was fine.
Yeah.
I think it was very heavy on the red.
Mm-hmm.
The red clouds, the blood clouds.
Yeah. So I don't know if that's supposed to be symbolic of something, but I enjoyed it.
Blood is a very religious element, right? Like, so that would make sense if we're going this route of like religion. Like, you're cleansed in blood, essentially. The blood of the innocent lamb, an offering. I mean, it runs rampant through religious concepts. So.
Well, even if you take religion out of the equation, the blood in the streets. So you're talking about the French Revolution. You literally see Daryl on a building looking down at the streets of Paris, and the cloud of red blood is actually going through the streets. It's not going above the roof. It's just traveling through the streets. I thought that was
very
pretty
Game
cool
of
imagery.
Thrones-ish.
Yeah, and in a sense,
blood and fire.
But then you have like romantic images of religion and stuff like that. Like, it reminds me of like the Sistine Chapel-esque sort of thing.
It's kind of plagues too. It's like Passover-y.
Sure. Yeah. The first plague, right.
That's actually kind of what I thought of, like watching that red like smoke. I don't know why I thought of the plague.
Yeah, maybe that's the reason. Well, it also shows the catacombs with all the skulls and the making up the walls of it. And the dead roaming through that as well. Like, so it's targetedly French in terms of theme, in terms of revolution, in terms of religion and iconography, and also cultural symbols like the Tour Eiffel and the L'Arc de Triomphe, which is like the symbol of freedom, the symbol of modernity.
They should be able to watch it.
They should watch it? You just said that.
Like France should be able to watch Daryl Dixon.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't hear the whole thing.
I don't understand what you're asking.
Right. No, you're right.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I think it was a continued thought from stuff we were saying earlier.
Yeah, exactly. It was just,
yes,
you just said
and
it so
the
randomly.
UK, Jasmine. I don't mean to leave you out.
No. Not those people. No. Sorry. Just the French.
Just free VPNs for everyone.
I also did like the reaction that Daryl had when he saw the Dieu vous aime, God loves you. He's looking up in the French English translation dictionary, and he's like, God loves you. He just like makes an audible like no?
Okay.
Yeah. God loves you, stupid. It's
yeah, that's basic. That was Daryl's equivalent of him saying
and then
stupid.
Dave did the gritty.
Stupid. Yeah. Let's use this scale. In terms of comparing it to maybe Dead City, are you more hyped for this series than you were at the beginning of Dead City? Is there a basis for comparison?
Especially after watching this first episode, don't feel like you could compare the two shows at all. They're not the same vibe. I know they're from the same universe, but that's about it. I love Daryl Dixon, so I was the most excited for his spinoff anyway, over Towel and over Dead City.
I think it is comparing apples and oranges. I don't think you can really compare them. Now, again, I am a basic B, so of course I love Daryl and he's my favorite. And I was most excited for this.
By the way, giving big ups to your comment. Should say that for the audio podcast.
I was most excited for this because I just was excited to see where it went. And I was happy to not lose Daryl, because if any of you remembered the last few episodes before the end, I'd actually theorized that maybe Daryl would die and that the spinoff was actually like a fake out, much like Robert Kirkman did with the comic books.
I do remember.
Because they hadn't started filming yet, and like the location wasn't even settled, and it was like all of this stuff was going on. So I was like, maybe he won't even be around anymore. So I'm thankful that we have the show. It's uniquely specific to me that I enjoy the content and the context as much as I do because of the overtly religious themes. I just think it's cool. I just think it's a cool area to explore. So I'm excited for this, and I'm excited about the concept of hope. And
Daryl being the one that is in this storyline makes it even more interesting.
Daryl and I have some similarities in terms of like past life. Same reason I love Carol as much as I do. And so,
all right, the mention of his father and his
and so
brother,
some of that just like it scars. Just hits close to home. The people have really now I'm gonna start crying. This is so stupid. The people have like really been through it in life, like tend to be the most hopeful. And it's because we've seen such bad stuff, but because we've made it out the other side, because our scars have healed, we like have all this hope. Why am I crying? This is the first episode. This is so dumb.
We have to insist we get her to cry every episode. I think we need to do this. I started
too high and now it's got to continue every time.
Just blame it on like we're in hour 3, Dave. That's what I do. I end up crying.
Hour 3.
To be fair, when I get tired, I do cry. But anyway,
So you see, I know Bridget.
it's nice to allow someone who's had such a rough go of it be hope for other people.
Well, and not let up and not let people who suffer not be redressed, let's say.
That's why I'm like really looking forward to the rest of this.
Bridget, did you enjoy the fact that Daryl in that one episode was able to change the mother, what's her name? Superior's mind about him?
As being the messenger.
As being, like, at first she didn't think he was a messenger. She didn't think he belonged there. She didn't want him anywhere. Like, and then at the end she was like, maybe it is him.
Well, he came back. That just says a lot, right? He didn't have to. He didn't.
Just like
owe
Laurent said
anything.
He would, by the way.
Yes, I will.
Laurent says it. This is a third thing, by the way. Spooky beta shit,
again.
Rachel.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm calling. Sorry,
Rachel.
It's fine. Listen, broken clocks can be right 3 times a day, I guess. So doesn't matter.
This kid is Nostradamus, and he's just throwing a lot of stuff out there.
The spaghetti on the wall. Let's see what sticks. We all know Daryl likes spaghetti.
Who doesn't?
And she was okay with the fact that he couldn't save what I viewed as her daughters, but her sisters, I guess that they're considered. She knew Laurent would be safe. I feel like that's why she felt like that at the end.
Isn't that a nicer picture to paint? That you die knowing that what you're trying to do, that is being served, and that and you can die at peace. That's just, I don't know. That was like a really beautiful moment.
And I feel like maybe she thought Daryl was hopeless and faithless, and now she's dying feeling like he's not.
Well, and again, this is a religious context, but Old Testament, New Testament doesn't matter, right? Like, doesn't matter, because Dave, you can attest to this in Old Testament. God always chooses the unlikely, always. Moses was nervous to speak in front of people, and yet he was created to lead.
Rather than his arguably much more knowledgeable and religious brother, Aaron.
Yeah. So like Moses was the one to lead. There's all these instances of, like, you look at someone like the Apostle Paul, he crucified Christians, and yet he became a mouthpiece for God. There's all of these instances of this throughout religion. So like, I just think it's really fitting. That would be a really fitting thing. Like, if you're telling a story wrapped in like hope and like with all these religious overtones and undertones, it's going to be someone who is unlikely, and he is unlikely for this.
I'm thinking of more religious instances where that sort of happens, but it's not important. In prophets,
there's a lot of them. I mean, there's tons of them. I could ramble them all.
Samuel
off,
and David,
there's a lot.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, I agree with everybody so far. It's really hard to compare the two, especially for me, because I was not excited at all for Dead City. I was going into this with super low expectations. It ended up surprising me, and I really ended up enjoying it, and I like the storyline and a lot of the new characters that they introduced us to. I will say I'm a little more excited for the Daryl spinoff, mostly due to spoilers.
Sorry.
Not you.
I know exactly what
you.
you're talking about. Yeah, I've been spoiled on that too. I hate it, but anyway.
I don't know if I have.
I don't know if I have either.
We're not going to talk about it.
We're absolutely not going to talk about it. I love and I hate it. But if I'm being completely honest, even like on a larger scale, ever since The Walking Dead ended, I've just been sort of numb as far as all of these spinoffs go. I have a really hard time getting too terribly excited for any of them because my heart and soul is done. It ended almost a year ago.
Isn't it also like that thing that you do where you lower expectations to avoid quote unquote being hurt too? So like, why let something new in that could break your heart?
I don't want to be excited for any of these spinoffs because I'm afraid that they're going to let me down. And if I'm way down here, whatever happens is going to be a pleasant surprise. I did enjoy this episode. I am excited to see where the rest of the season goes. Cautiously.
As per usual. And
Charity brings up a really good point too. She says, not going to lie, fear being so awful really cooled my jets. After being disappointed, after feeling that disappointment, it is hard to get excited about things now because I know what that feels like. And so I'm going to go into all of this with caution and protecting myself. But so far, so good. Let's see where this goes.
Yeah.
I'm in it to win it.
Yes, as far as I go, I can compare the series just in terms of pacing and tone. I couldn't get it out of my mind how in Dead City things moved pretty fast. Whereas in this series, I feel like there's a bit more breathing room. Like even though the first episode, quite a few things happen, And rather than the long establishing, like, how did we get here? We're going to get that over time.
Do we have more episodes of this?
I think it's just 6 episodes, but still, that's kind of what I'm saying is that.
Which is frustrating.
In 6 episodes of Dead City, I felt like everything was frenetic. I'm constantly anxious. We're just rushing to tell this story in 6 episodes, whereas so far as I've seen with The Walking Dead Daryl Dixon, I feel like there's a bit more breathing room. We can comfortably tell a story so far and maybe fill you in along the way on some of the backstory or some of the details of people's histories and past and stuff like that. And at the same time, find out more about, let's say, even Daryl, or find out more about the characters that we know. So I feel a noticeably different shift in the way I'm enjoying this series. Whereas that Dead City, I'm just kind of like white knuckling. I'm like, oh, we got to cover the next episode. Oh, so much happens in this episode. Oh, this happened. Now we got to talk about this. Oh, people are dying left and right.
That makes sense, though, in terms of like personalities.
And New York City versus France.
Yeah. It just makes sense. It just makes sense. Yeah.
No, and I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but I'm just putting a finger on the energy and the mood that I'm feeling while watching this. And you know what? I'm okay with both, but I'm liking the idea that I can breathe through this series so far, that there's room to tell a story, and a good one. And this is exactly something that you've said also, Bridget, is that's what I want in a story. I want to be able to tell an insular story that doesn't have to connect to the rest of the universe, or a big bad that we've seen before that has grown bigger. This is what I want. I want these offshoot stories with singular characters that introduce new characters, kind of like what we were talking about with Tales of the Walking Dead. I'm okay with insular stories. Yeah. I would have preferred, of course, a little bit more ties to the greater universe when it comes to Tales of the Walking Dead.
Honestly, it tells me who reads comic books and who doesn't, because that's a very comic book thing to do. Like, one-shot comics are such a common theme where you end up with like a one-shot or like maybe a 3-shot like series that's like an insular story. But like, if you aren't into that type of storytelling, if you're not like accustomed to that type of storytelling, then that can be really, I guess, upsetting. Theoretically, like, it's not for me because I read comic books and I enjoy comic books and I like that type of storytelling because I still get my favorite characters. I still get that hit of like what I want, but it doesn't necessarily change the entire narrative or like create new canon or like any of this other stuff. You know, you don't have to like retcon stuff in to like make it work. You don't have to take title cards away to make a timeline work that doesn't really work, but it's fine. Who cares anyway?
Right, that story is over and it doesn't have to be brought up again, essentially. But yeah, all of this to say is that I think that's what Tales of the Walking Dead was missing, was that I think that's what people wanted, at least a character or somebody they knew from the original series or sides projects. Did get that. And they did, and which is why they liked it so much. And maybe that's really the key element. And so we're sort of getting that plus that in the new Daryl spinoff. And with that, everybody, if you like what you heard, head over to ratethispodcast.com/squawkingdead. 5 stars and an eggplant is all we need to know that you love us. But tell us what you liked. Tell us what you didn't like. Tell us what you think we might have missed. But remember to tell us after every single episode. And if you really like what we're doing, you want to join us in these recording sessions, because we only post our recording schedules in these 2 platforms. Try following us on either Ko-fi or Patreon. That's ko-fi.com/squawkingdead and patreon.com/squawkingdead. You don't have to buy us a coffee on Ko-fi. You don't have to join a membership tier on either platform. All you need to do is follow us so you can get that notification to join us in these recording sessions, so you can lend your thoughts like Jasmine did today in the chat, the instantaneous chat. If you feel so inclined to buy us a coffee on Ko-fi, you'll get 30 days of supporter back content to our unedited episode recordings and cool little drops that we do. And if you decide to join a membership tier, you will get access to perks. You'll definitely get access to our Discord and a whole host of other things. I've been your host, David Cameo, and I'm joined by Cosmom09, Rachel Burt, Sharon D, aka Blazy Gardner in the chat, as well as Bridget, ko-fi.com/Punky Brewster. That's PUNKYBRUISETR. And of course, Survivors tier member Takira, who you can reach at ko-fi.com/Connie Dixon, the number 4 LYFE. That's Connie Dixon for life. Take care, everybody. We'll see you next week as we discuss the second episode of The Walking Dead, Daryl Dixon. Have a good one, and I hope you enjoyed this. Take care. Bye.
I can't wait to cry.
Bye.
Bye. Cry. thank you so much for listening to our first discussion on The Walking Dead Daryl Dixon, phase 2 of spin-offs in The Walking Dead universe. As always, we like to end these podcasts off by shouting out our Survivors and Whisperers tier members in that order, which you can join and receive a shout out at the end of every episode by heading to either Ko-fi or Patreon. That's ko-fi.com/squawkingdead or patreon.com/squawkingdead. Starting with the Survivors tiers, we've got Takira, who joined us today, who you can reach at ko-fi.com/Connie Dixon, the number 4 LYFE. That's Connie Dixon for life. Fanart Lindy, you can reach at ko-fi.com/fanart Lindy, at Eliza Jones 71 on Instagram, or at JonesAG6 on Twitter. And last but definitely not least, at Real Ryan GM on Twitter. Up next with the Whisperers tier members, we've got at Judith.Morton on Instagram, Aiden Atkin, who you can reach at ko-fi.com/Aiden Atkin, at Tyler Phillip Cox on both Instagram and Twitter, at Sandy.D.Morrison on Facebook, and of course, Lois at Lois.Martin.54 on Facebook. Thank you again for listening, and remember to rate us at ratethispodcast.com/squawkingdead, and stay tuned for our next discussion on The Walking Dead Daryl Dixon. But until then, remember that we are Squawking Dead.